Good afternoon. I'd like to introduce our team. This is Derek Collins, Robert Velasquez, Wes Carter, and myself, Angela Chase. I would like to set the baseline of our evaluation by talking about who REI is. REI is passionate about living a life outdoors. You want to provide an authentic outdoor experience through your gear and expertise. You want to, you always look at the best interest of your members first and foremost. And you want to reduce the amount of natural resources that you're using while expanding opportunities to access inspirational places. You have commissioned Better Living Consulting to evaluate the sharing economy so that you have for opportunities to reduce your use of limited resources. Yes. So just what REI is currently doing through your values, you're acting as an environmental steward. You're giving of your time and money, and you're educating your members, and then you're inviting them to travel the world. So to give a better analysis, or the situational analysis of where REI is currently, I'm going to invite Wes to come out and talk.
Thank you, Angela. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper and through a situation analysis and how we projected and came up with our solutions for this. To begin with, REI is a high-end retailer of outdoor equipment. And also the board. The board is elected by its members. And what that does is it helps set the stage and it helps set the core values and the fundamentals to connect everyone together. And also there's a strong, because of the co-op organizational model, there's a strong commitment from the members itself. And also you are known for your supply chain and sustainability, especially through social responsibility practices. Now, to take a look at some of the weaknesses, because of the co-op model, it's a little bit different the way you raise your funds. And a lot of it relies on the members and the one-time membership fee of $20. And also the inventory costs are a bit high. There's 135 stores in REI, and you have high-end goods, so it's very expensive and difficult to keep all of these stores supplied. Now also the suppliers are also direct competitors. So when you look at companies like Patagonia, and when you look at the North Face, they directly compete with the REI brand. And then also the prices are a bit high. It's a very high-end retailer. So the opportunities. We see an opportunity in the P2P market, and that is peer-to-peer sharing. And through P2P, we believe that you can increase employee engagement and customer engagement. And also you can increase the outdoor goods, the circulation of outdoor goods. And then the threats. Now Amazon is a threat to any retailer. And then when you look at companies like Sports Authority and Dick's, also the inexpensive goods from China. Sometimes it's hard to justify spending $100 on a camp stove when you could order one for $5. And also secondary markets like Craigslist and Play It Again Sports. And then hook and bait retailers like Cabela's and also Bass Pro Shop, which just recently opened up down the road on I-5. Now I'm going to shift gears a little bit and take a look at the way the consumer is experienced the first time to the outdoors. And I'm a huge snowboarding enthusiast. I'm also a rock climber, and I've invited a lot of friends, even people on this stage, and typically I would supply them with the materials. And the idea is I hope they would fall in love with the outdoors. But then they're faced with the dichotomy. Do they make the investment? A typical snowboarding decent setup will cost you about $800, but they might not be in the opportunity to afford these. So if they do buy the equipment, it's often underutilized. It might sit in the garage. So why is the social experience important? Well, for one, it connects like-minded people together, and it also, social psychologists say that a connection to the outdoors is vital to a happy and healthy lifestyle. So we've been asked to take a look at also the sharing economy. Now the sharing economy can be defined as collaborative consumption. And companies like Lyft and Uber right now are making billions of dollars in the peer-to-peer market. And the market right now is estimated with annual revenues of $110 billion. Again, it's a catalyst for social connectivity. And communities thrive when they're socially connected. Some of the examples would be in transportation, Lyft and Uber. We have crowdsourcing. We have Air B2B, like in real estate, and then we have general goods. So why is the sharing economy important? Well, for one, it opens new business opportunities, and it puts companies at the future or the forefront of innovation. And it also has a chance to reduce the natural resources that are being extracted from the earth. And near and dear to my heart is the access for the disadvantaged population. Peer-to-peer can bring the price points down and give people of all races, all colors, more access to the outdoors. Now, to give a different perspective, I'm going to bring up my associate, Robert.
Thank you, Wes. So there's a lot of potential for the shared market, and I think a lot of people can agree that disruptive technology today can change the way things are done, and it can change the way that businesses operate. And a lot of people have been very optimistic that it can also change the way the world operates for the better and create a better society. But that's not always what we've seen in the peer-to-peer market. Oftentimes, business models that come in with these bright hopes of changing the world are then invested in, and they have a lot of demands to grow, create ROI, and just be able to grow and create possibly a return in an IPO. And because of that, some of the value is lost. The strength of the sharing market is that it can redistribute the surplus, and that it can redistribute the rents too from the economy, and be able to give more value to each of the users in the program. Now, it has come to my attention earlier, we don't want to say that profit is bad. Everybody has to make a profit. Nonprofits really are not for profits because their motivation isn't primarily to create profits, it's to create value. And it's because of that if you were looking to create the most profit, and if you were looking for a get rich quick, but really to maximize your investment as far as your return for investors, I wouldn't recommend to go into the sharing economy. If I was talking to Dick's or Cabela's, Sports Authority, any number of companies that are also in the outdoor gear area, I'd probably tell them to forget about the sharing economy. Maybe look into margins, look into importing goods, look into supply chain. But we know that at REI, you guys care about more than just your return. You also care about the environment, you care about your members, and it's because of your business setup as a co-op that we would strongly recommend that you need to be involved in the sharing market. And to give you an idea and a vision of what that would look like, we developed a program called REX, also known as Recreational Equipment Exchange. Now, REX would be set up very similar to ride-sharing companies in that it would be a system that connects members. So members that own the gear can rent it out to other members that want to be able to experience the outdoors with that gear. It would also enable the sale of used goods and be able to get more use out of those durable assets. And a huge part of this plan is what we call gear exchange. That would be a physical location inside the store that connects the members with each other, where they can come and they can set up a rental through the program and come and pick it up inside REI. And this would drive traffic through REI as well. But before we get into the specifics of the program, I want to talk about just the situation analysis for REI to launch a sharing economy style program. So you have a lot of strengths that other programs that want to do renting gear do not have. Your size and your scale, your distribution gives you an advantage in that you have the physical locations. So if I want to go on Outdoor Exchange and try to rent some gear, and then I want to go pick that gear up, I've got to meet somebody. And I've heard some pretty funny stories about Craigslist ads. And when you show up and somebody's very, very sketchy and they're very uncertain, and both of you are fearing that you're going to get robbed or something. And we want to be able to change that. We want the sharing economy to be a model where you feel safe to be able to rent your gear. And through REI, we can do that. And so some of the strengths are your co-op model as well to funnel that benefit, not into your investors and into an ROI, but into the members, giving them the full value that you can. Also, your members is a huge strength. A program like this really gains its power through connectivity, the network effect. And because you already have members who are invested in the program, that will give you huge strength in trying to leverage this type of sharing economy model. Now, some of the weaknesses of this type of program would be low product control, possibly. Also, it's an emerging tech. You're going to have to inform your members and your public about this new way of sharing their gear and why it is useful for them and why there's a lot of benefit in that. The opportunities are huge here. We're seeing an opportunity to be able to benefit your members, the society, and also creating a social epicenter through Gear Exchange to be able to bring your members into the store. driving more store traffic, and connecting with your core business model. The threats would be competition. If there's somebody that comes into the marketplace with the same business model and they're really trying to seek a return, they might do something similar to what Uber's doing now, and very anti-competition and very hard competition to try to drive other people out, and that would be a threat, as well as quality concerns with the program. Now, looking next at what REX would focus on. REX focuses on the maximization of use of durable goods, and also the resale of those durable goods, and to be able to get the most out of them for environmental, and also for use to be able to increase accessibility for members. That you can be able to use this equipment maybe that you wouldn't be able to before to experience the outdoors. It would also increase the membership base and the membership involvement. And a huge part of that is gear exchange. Now, gear exchange would be the social epicenter, where people come in and they can share their gear and also their stories, their experiences, and their lives. And we want to be able to create that around REI. In addition, it would set up a place for them to be able to exchange that gear safely. And it would be a common center where they could even drop it off for a period of time so that they don't have to be there at the same time. Now, this type of project obviously is going to be quite an investment, and it's a move into a different sector. And so in order to talk about the costs and our returns that we've calculated, I'd like to invite up Derek.
Thank you, Robert. To go over our costs and our returns, we estimate the cost of this program in the first year to be about $3.8 million. Now, $3.5 million we're going to put into marketing, because we need to let our members know how this program works. And since it's user-provided goods that are the basis of the marketplace, we need to teach them how it works so they can bring their gear in so we can rent it out. About $200,000 for the actual program development. REI already has applications, they have online, they have memberships, they can take payments, online shopping. So this is really just building upon the strengths they've already created and kind of organic transition into the next phase. And about $80,000 to transform our store spaces and all of our retail locations to house the gear exchange, so people can drop their gear off when it's convenient for them and the person renting can pick it up from the location. Now, our first year return we estimate to be about $3.7 million. We're going to take about 20% from the gross rental fee, which is about the same as the other parts of the sharing economy right now. And now to move on to the overall investment. We predict the growth is going to be about 25%. We've seen this in other parts of the sharing economy. It's big growth numbers, but we think that it's really sustainable. And we think that the 5-year value of this investment right now, the net present value is between $25 and $40 million, with the most likely case about $30 million. Now, there's one other aspect that we wanted to cover, because we know how concerned you are with the environmental impact. And now we've made this slide about the closed loop system. Ideally, a closed loop system, you would extract natural resources and use those to make outdoor products, and then as those become aged, you would reuse those again to make more outdoor products, and you would never need to extract any more resources or create any waste. Now, we're not there yet. This is an as-is picture of what we're operating at right now. There is still some waste and still some extraction. Now, luckily, the REX program fits into this diagram by creating a couple more loops down here on the corner. What's that going to do? That is going to do is allow us to reuse some of the goods that we have. We can get more use out of the durable assets that people are already buying, and we can also reuse the assets that are almost at the end of life through the used gear sales. And now I'm going to ask Robert to come back up.
Thank you, Derek. So in order to give you a good picture of what this would look like, we created some mock-ups as well. So this here would be gear exchange. This is what we would picture as the center that would drive this program. It would differentiate you because of your stores. And it would also drive your core business with this synergistically. In addition, we want to develop an app which would allow people to create their own profile like a social network, to be able to rate other members on it and create it very similar to other sharing economy models. And you already have apps. So we budgeted this, and we know this within your core strengths as well. And finally, a website would also be in conjunction with the app to be able to allow people to sign up and see what's available, and then to be able to rent their own gear as well. Your goal is catalyzing outdoor experiences. And at REI, we strongly believe that you could do that through a sharing economy model such as REX. And not only do we believe that this is a strong business proposition, but we believe that it is imperative that you take it for your members. If you do not create a sharing app, somebody else will. And they're not going to have your core members' values at heart like you do. And it's because of that that we recommend a recreational exchange at REI. So thank you guys so much for listening to us. I think our time is all up, and we love to answer any questions and answers.
Where did you come up with the figure, the advertising figure, was it 2.5 million? Does that include in-house, online, your own social media? Where does that figure come from, and where does that money go?
We were hoping to leverage some of the stuff that REI already does. They already have a broad member base that we could advertise to directly. And we took basically a 5% of the overall annual marketing spend to dedicate it to this program. That's how we came up with our figures.
We would take that money, and with that, it would be spread out beyond the integrated marketing campaign. So your social networking and any other print ads and all those would be involved in that cost. We just took a percentage of the budget for advertising, and then the next step would be to develop the plan for where that would be applied.
So I had two questions. One, what do you project this program would do for REI's current market share? And then secondly, for that gear exchange, what is your program for managing sort of damages to gear as it comes back?
That's a really good question. We didn't compute a market share growth. So we computed returns from that, but we didn't apply that to the market share, and that would be a great step to take next. As far as the damages that would be applied, well, we thought of some ideas about how that could be managed. One way that you could manage that is that when you rent the equipment, you also are renting it with an agreement of how much it would be to buy it, and in the event that it's lost, stolen, or broken, that you would buy it from them as a resale of used goods. And that would need to be tested, and it would need to be modeled to be able to see what gives the best value to members, what's the fairest way, and how involved REI is going to be in that. So, thank you.
Can I also comment? So through the increase of the rental of equipment, people that aren't currently involved in that industry or those outdoor activities are now going to be involved. So there will be an increase in your sales, as well as through the rental sharing recs. So that will increase.
So jumping in, so in terms of how much space in a store, thinking about that retail experience, how much space do you think this takes up, and what's the kind of give and take with maybe dedicating square footage to this versus square footage that's already producing revenue and profits for REI?
I can take that question. We actually computed the changeover cost by dividing the net income per square foot of REI stores and using the average store space. And then we figured about 600 square feet we could use as a kind of a storeroom or back room to house the goods in between when it's dropped off and picked up. So that's actually how we came up with the little over $6,000 per store, and how we came up with the $77,000 total.
So lots of analysis. What do you think that the incremental impact per square foot might be in terms of revenue for this new program versus what it's displacing?
Obviously, as you take square footage from selling, each square footage is going to become more valuable. But we also were computing what comes in from the rentals, because the margin from selling product on the shelf is not very high. And possibly the margin from renting could be a lot higher. And so it could be more profitable renting than just selling.
You guys talked about the idea of a social epicenter, and I was just curious what your thoughts are on how that might differentiate this idea from other competitors that are out there.
I think with the social experience, there's an opportunity to team up with companies like the WTA and really create the dialogue. You can look at, different, mountain passes and different conditions and stuff. And, there's an opportunity for members to have that dialogue back and forth. Say, hey, I appreciated the ski rental. I went here. It was great. The conditions were great. So I think, embedded within the app, there'll be, a huge forum for people to be able to communicate back and forth. And as mentioned earlier, you'll be able to rate different members, rate the equipment. So this, I think, will be a huge forum. An opportunity within the app and also the web platform.
Yeah, one of REI's current strengths is the employee knowledge. I know when I shop at REI, one of the reasons I'll go there is because I can ask the employees and they're going to know what they're talking about. So in addition to that, when they come in to rent gear, they can also ask employees, talk to them, and talk to other members. And that's kind of where we want to create that social epicenter, where people are involved on the social media side of it as well as face-to-face and in the store.
One of the reasons often given for shared economy is cutting down the use of natural resources. Did you give any thought to placing a value on the natural resources that might be saved through a sharing model?
So there's mixed results on natural resources that are saved in a sharing economy. A lot of people were very optimistic that ride sharing would diminish the amount of waste that's contributed by cars. And that hasn't always been the case because of the fact that the price is lowered, it changes consumer behavior. And so for a small percentage, it really does cut down on how much they're using because they're using rideshare. For other people, they wouldn't have been going anywhere, but rideshare made it possible, and now they're using that. And so the environmental impacts have to be watched closely. The primary goal of recreational equipment exchange is to redistribute those goods to other people to be able to use them. We're hoping that that would diminish the natural resources used. But if that changes consumer behavior so that more people are using it, then it may actually increase how much is sold. And to address that concern, we need to look at the supply chain and how much is used in the product and how the product is eco-friendly. And so those two would pair together. And we want to maximize the use of these assets, but we didn't apply a monetary term to it.
Good.
The second place team was from the University of Washington, Tacoma, Milgard School of Business. Guys, good job, awesome job. Good job. Yeah, put the girl in the middle.
Sorry.